Good morning and happy Tuesday. So yesterday was 9/11, anniversary of 9/11, 22 years. Hard to believe it's been 22 years. And even if you're not from the States, that was a day that the world stopped. It's one of those days where you can remember the day, the date, you can remember where you were, you can remember what was going on. I mean, it's so ingrained in our minds that we can remember everything about that event. And every year on 9/11, I watch some sort of a documentary. I always, I think it's kind of like an obligation. I've been to Ground Zero and the 9/11 Memorial many, many times. I don't ever take a photo there. For some reason, for me personally, that feels disrespectful, but that's just me. That's just my personal position. So every year when I watch these different documentaries or whatever, you always learn a new story, and the stories are incredible. But for me, the biggest takeaway of that day is what the people did who knew they were going to die. There was a lot of people that had an opportunity to make a phone call, to do something before they knew that their life was going to end. Whether it's the people that were on the airplane that crashed in Pennsylvania, or whether it's the people that were in the towers above where the planes crashed. And, I know one story because a Tony Robbins event was going on when that event happened out in Hawaii, an event I was actually supposed to be at. And one of the people who was there, their fiance was in the tower above the plane and called and left them a message. And what I think is important, or at least my personal takeaway, all of those people that had a chance to make a phone call, they all did the same thing. They all called the people that they loved to tell them how much they loved them and how important they were to them. Every single person did the same thing. It didn't matter where they were from. It didn't matter what their background was, their religion was, ethnic backgrounds. None of that mattered. They all did the same thing. Nobody called up and said, make sure you get those MFs that did this. Nobody called the person that they hated the most and said, boy, before I die, I just want you to know that I hate your guts. Nobody called up the person who had wronged them and said, just remember that you wronged me before I die today. No calls of revenge, no call, that wasn't the call at all. The only thing they cared about was, I want the people who I care about the most to know that that's what's on my mind right now. That was it. And there was even almost this feeling of peace in a way that they got the chance to do that. If you look at the messages, the message ends almost at peace because they got an opportunity to at least give that message. I think it shows us what's most important at the end of the day. We spend so much time getting wrapped up in things that at the end of our lives just aren't going to matter. Even if you're super famous, super rich, super successful, it's all fleeting. It'll pass. The book Think and Grow Rich, they had to redo the book and change the examples because when the book was written, many of the examples of the time were people that nobody ever remembered who they were. At the time, they were titans. They were the Bill Gateses of their time, but yet people still, time passed and people didn't know who they were, so they had to change the names and make it so it's like, okay, instead of this person, now we're going to use Bill Gates. Instead of this person, now we're going to use Steve Jobs. Instead of this person, now we're going to use Warren Buffett. Because people had forgotten. Time had passed. And while some people we still talk about, let's face it, if somebody's talking about you 10 years after you're dead, you're a pretty lucky person. Because for most of us, it's pretty fleeting. Shakespeare said, life is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Rough, but accurate. We spend a lot of our time, most of our time, scurrying around, worrying about things that at the end of our lives are just not going to matter. And at some day, the end of our life is going to come. None of us are getting out of this alive. I love the Marine Corps. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. That's one of the things the Marine Corps always says. Well, that's part of how they train you to be a Marine. So I think our biggest takeaway, our biggest lesson is to remember what's really important. To say the words that we don't take enough time to say, that we don't say often enough, that we go along and say, this is just understood. It's just understood how I feel about this person or about these people. No, it's not. Say the words. Use your words. Use your voice. And let the people that you care about the most know how much they mean to you. Because at the end of the day, when our day comes, that's all that's really going to matter is that we did that. And for those people that had the opportunity to say something to the world, if you were on the top of that tower below the plane, you could have called CNN, you could have called whatever news station, and you could have said something to the world, and it would have gone around the world. You could have said, make sure you get whoever. That nobody did that. They called the people they cared about and made sure that they knew. And if they got the chance to do that, then they were at peace. To me, biggest takeaway of 9/11. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'm going to say hi. We got a lot of people on this morning. Mr. Drehobel, great to see you. Robert, Dolly, great to see you guys on here. Gary, good. So happy to have you on this morning. Jacqueline, thank you very much for having on. David, oh my God, great to see you. David, Katie is out in Paris, coming home tomorrow. Catherine and Toby, thank you everybody so much. Means the world to me when you guys hop on. Thank you so much. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.